Hey guys, so today I'm going to talk briefly about a book that I'm reading. I'm going to give, I guess, my thoughts. It's not really a review because I haven't finished reading the book yet completely, but I'm pretty close. Just my thoughts on this book, and maybe it will help you decide if you want to read it yourself as well. The book, it's called A Theory of Fun for Game Design, and is by Raph Koster. Okay, Raph Koster is a I guess it's a game designer. He worked for Ultima World. No, sorry, not Ultima World, Ultima Online, and Star Wars Galaxy, something. Yeah, Star Wars Galaxies. I think that was his other. Yeah, Ultima Online and Star Wars Galaxies. Yeah, that's right. And then he created his own marketplace, and he has his own. Oh, and then he also worked on Legend Mod, which is like a text-based virtual world. All right, so so here we go. Off the bat, I'm just going to say that I don't think the book is that useful to me personally. I was looking for more of a game design theory. The book is more about what is more personal, is more what he thinks game design is, right? Like he's talking to his kids, like, hey, my children, let me tell you what I think game design is, right? You know, it's kind of like it's not really. In fact, I think the book is dedicated to his kids somewhere. He says that I dedicate this book to my kids and my wife or something like that. Yeah, see right here. I dedicate to my kids. So this book is sort of like, you know, it's kind of like it's written in more of childish, not childish, but it feels like the target audience is more like kids, like kids like 9 or 10 or something, you know. Like it doesn't feel like adult. Like adults should not read this. I don't think it's for adults. Like, you know, that's why I think it's all the books, all the pages have like drawings on each page and stuff like that. And it's, you know, he asked big questions, like he would ask big questions, but his answers are very simplistic, very like unresearched. And I'm sure he did a lot of research, but the thing is, like, he's a writer. He's originally a writer, and then later became game designer. So his experience with, you know, all the stuff that he wants to talk about, like psychology, he talks about psychology, human psychology, how the brain works, and our mind, and why do we play games, and, you know, how do games work on our minds. Those are big questions, right? And those they require, like, you know, 50 years of research or something like that. Like, to me, it feels like they require a whole lifetime of research, right? Like he's asking such big questions. Like he's trying to tackle big questions, right? You know, like even towards the end, he's trying to kind of deal with the idea of what do video games do to our mind, right? You know, do violent games make us violent, right? And he's a funny guy because he all his questions are, all his answers are, all his questions are really big, and all his answers are very like wishy-washy. He doesn't have a proper answer. I mean, like, you know, I don't think he would have a proper answer because he's not really trained in psychology of video games, right? Like he that's not what he does. Like he made like 2 games or 3 games or 50 games or something, but did he research about his audience? Did he take any, like, you know, it doesn't seem like a lot of his basis for research is more like assumptions, right? Like, hey, let me give you my 5 cents about what I think about it's happening in the brain, right? And for example, one of the things he would say is that people are obsessed with order, right? He says that all humans are interested in order. I don't think that's true. I you know, based on my research, I don't think that all people are interested in many people are interested in order, you know, but I don't think all people are interested in order. I think that's a universal human aspect so to speak, right? That all humans are interested in order, right? That seems more of like he created a generic statement just to support his idea, right? But he never bothered to prove this idea. Like, okay, prove me that all humans are interested in order. Like, I want some factual data, some research to prove that idea, right? You know, like this book, for the stuff that he deals with in this book, it should have been like 1,000 pages long, not 200. It's 200 pages, right? It should have been 1,000 pages, right? It should have been like 800 more pages of dealing with each one of those big ideas that he's trying to deal, right? So I understand why he made it smaller. It's also, like I said, it feels like it's targeted towards younger audience. You know, he says a lot of things. He said one of the things that he says is that games are about projecting power. Okay, it sounds interesting at first, but then I thought about it. It's like, are games really about projecting power? And then he says that games are about like kind of like reenacting primitive behaviors in humans. I don't know if that's true. I mean, you know, like to anyone might seem that way, right? Like at first, right? But the more you think about it, the more you're like, you know, because that would mean like, you know, children play more games than adults, right? So does that mean that children like to project more power than adults? It seems to me like adults want to project more power. You know, you get into these side discussions, right? Like, are games really about projecting power, or are games really about like learning? He says that games are about learning. Okay, there's a lot of children games that are played for fun, right? And, you know, I mean, do children learn things in them, or more about practice what they've learned, right? To me, the games are more about practicing in a sort of like a fictional, simplified environment, right? Like a more controlled environment, like practicing what you've learned in a more controlled environment, right? It feels more like that to me, right? It doesn't feel to me like they're about projecting power, right? Anyways, it just doesn't seem. He talked, you know, I should be more specific. Like he would say, he says a lot of funny things. Like he would say, you know, like games are about projecting power. He would say, right? And then later he talks about ethics, right? And he does not defend the idea. He's sorry, like does not defend, but he sort of like attacks the idea that video games make people violent. He says that video games do not make people violent, right? Like, you know, you play a shooter, you don't just go out, you don't want to go out and shoot people, right? Because your mind knows that shooting is bad. You're just put in the virtual reality. He says that, right? You're put in a virtual reality. So what the game teaches you, it's sort of like territorial behavior or something, which I don't think that's true, but then he would say that games are about projecting power, right? So, and then also games are about learning, right? So games are teaching you to project power and be territorial. So he's you know, from his early, that's like in the beginning of the book, right? So from the beginning of the book, you would assume that games make you violent, right? But then he says, no, games do not make you violent. But then he also says, well, but you should be ethical about what you teach in games, right? So you would say, well, no, games, you know, if shooting people do not make you violent, right? Like in the games, right? However, saying stuff like, you know, about minority groups, or you know, like different people from different ethnic backgrounds or different religions, they do make you more racist or xenophobic. So I'm like, wait, hold on, but you said that games don't make you behave like that, but they do make you behave like that. You know, I mean, I'm a little bit confused. Like you would say, like, okay, like for example, say in the game I'm a slaver. Does that mean that I'm going to become a slaver in real life? You know, when I was playing Fallout, for example, in Fallout games, okay, they're post-apocalyptic games. People sometimes wanted to play as a slaver, okay, and there's all these mods to play as a slaver, okay. None of those people became slavers in real life, okay. So you know, they were in the game, they were taking advantage of vulnerable people, so to speak, like older people or women, right? Because they were easy to make slaves in the game. He would be saying that, well, you should not do that in games, okay, but it's okay to kill people. you know, what are you saying? Like he's really confused. Like it seems to me like he's trying to defend video games, but he also wants to defend the people attacking video games at the same time. So he's kind of like put between two positions, and he's kind of like wishy-washy. She's like, well, yeah, you guys are right. Like, yeah, you should not be violent in video games, but violence doesn't make you kill people. But you should not be violent. But violence doesn't make you, like, he doesn't know. He goes between these 2 points. Like, he doesn't have a strong position, right? He's like, hey man, this is what I think, right? And then he doesn't. I think the problem is that he just has a hard time like explaining that from a psychological point of view, because I think he's missing all that knowledge, right? I'm not saying that I have it, but I feel like I've done a bit more research than he has. Like a lot of the stuff like all humans are interested in order. I don't know how true that is, man. All humans are interested in order. You know, a lot of those ideas are like he would just slap you with some random idea. He would say like all humans like to be tall. Because all humans like to be tall, and then he starts a paragraph, right? But hold on, he didn't even prove that point, right? All humans like to be really fast and aggressive. So therefore, like blah blah, and he didn't actually say that, but I'm just saying like he would give like some random example. Like he would say like games are about primitive behavior. Prove it, you know, prove it to me that games are about primitive behavior, right? They don't seem to be about primitive behavior. Right? His proof is that a lot of the games that we play are about medieval sword fighting and killing people. You know, that's not true. The most some of the most sold games or most played games are competitive games, right now. And they are indeed about killing, but they are about competition, right? It's about like winning or losing. It's about two sides. So it's not really about, you know. And also, like, for example, Sims or Minecraft. Minecraft is the most sold game in the world. And it's about killing zombies, and it's more about building houses. Are you projecting power? You know? Are you reenacting the primitive behavior of building a house? It doesn't seem to me that... to be honest, this book is not that useful. It's a lot of it has like a lot of nice reviews here. As you can see over here, everybody talks nicely about it. Blah blah blah. You know, oh, it's such a great book, so fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Personally, I find that good, so I would not recommend it. That's my opinion. It might be more useful for kids. I think that this book is a little bit dangerous too, in a weird way, because he sort of sides with one ideology of games are. It's not good to teach to put bad ideas in games, because that's going to influence people. Like he kind of sides more towards that idea. Like even though he says that that games don't make you like violent games don't make you violent, he does say that xenophobic or racist games do make you more racist, right? So he's a little bit like confused about that, but he seems to be sliding more towards that. So he says right towards the end, he says that you need to be careful about what you put in video games, like ethical. He's talking about the ethics of video games, right? Yeah. Yeah, I didn't find that useful, to be honest. So this is the book, okay? A Theory of Fun for Game Design by Raph Koster. If I gave it personally, if I gave it a rate, I would say 2 out of 10. You know, for content, maybe maybe 5 out of 10. But it's literally like 20% of the information he says is directly useful. All the other stuff is just filler stuff. A lot of stuff that he just throws. You know, anyways. Yeah, that's all I want to say. If you guys know video game design books that you would like to recommend, please let me know. I would like to read a proper game design book. And I apologize to this author here. I don't mean to be too rude on his on his part, because you know the game design books are very rare, and I think that's why he got so many reviews. But I want to be honest, so I'm just being honest, right? I'm pretty honest. Anyways, that's all.